Hello everyone, I'm going to be making a quick tutorial on how to make audio mods for Helldiveris 2. Um, I personally have not seen a tutorial like this, specifically in video format. After digging around for a while, was able to find a visual one, which you can see here. I'm going to be linking this below if you want to look through it. It does have links for all of the programs and things you're going to need to download to be able to do this, but I personally prefer video guides. I know this one has pictures and things like that, but I personally prefer videos, so I figured I'd just make one real quick, nice, quick, and dirty. I will say as a bit of a disclaimer before this starts that this is just the way that I figured out how to make it work. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it, and if there is, obviously, please let people know so that we all can learn from it. But again, I figured out how to make it work this way, and it's been working for me so far, so I figured I'd let you all know too. So in this doc, which again I'm going to be linking below, there is a file right here that brings you to this Google Sheet. It's essentially a massive library of literally everything in the game. It has body armor, helmets, capes, enemies, literally everything, video, things like that. But for us perfectly, if we're doing audio mods, we're going to want to go to the audio tab down here at the bottom and find the whatever we're trying to mod. So personally, I'm going to be doing a mod for the 500 kilogram bomb. So I'm going to need this in a little bit. But again, this has literally everything in the game. Just look around, find what you're looking for, and go crazy. So we'll need this in a little bit, but for the programs that we're going to need to be able to do this, there's two of them. The first one is a program called WWISE. It is to my knowledge, it's an audio editing and conversion software, but the only thing we're going to be using it for is for converting WAV files to WEM files. I don't know if there's a different way of doing it. From what I saw, there isn't. In order to get this, again, the link to download is in the Google Sheet or the Google Doc that I showed at the very beginning. You do need to create an account to get it, but I don't see anything more than that you need, and it's been working for me so far. So you'll need this, and then also in that Google Doc at the very beginning is this audio modder. When you first open it, it won't have this here. It'll just be blank. I'll show you how to get that once I get to that step, but you will need this program. To people who just started out modding, it might be a little shady because it makes you have a command window open in the background like this. For anyone who is more experienced in modding other games, you might know that this is sometimes needed. I personally have not found anything wrong with it. Just FYI, my antivirus did not like installing this program, but it works. So take that with a grain of salt, I guess. So once you have those programs and you have the this Google Sheet, you are ready to start. The first thing you'll need to do is grab the audio file that you are trying to convert. So I'm going to be taking this audio file and putting it over the 500 kilogram bomb. So you're going to want to download it. This is downloading as an MP3. You can do other file versions. This is just what I am using. So now you're going to take your MP3 file, whatever file you're using. I'm using this free online converter. There are literally hundreds of them. If this one doesn't work, just Google it and you'll find one. So you're going to take your MP3 file right here. Make sure it converts it to a WAV file. This is what you want. Hit convert, let it cook, and there you go. And now you're going to download it. And then I personally always just put these on my desktop just so that I know where they are. And it should be, again, in a WAV file like this. So now I can minimize that, and it's right here. This is what we want. Now that we have our WAV file right here, we're going to go into WISE here. I always make sure I clear the audio file cache. This is really useful if you are doing multiple different mods to make sure that you don't get confused, because when you convert files with this program, it just spits out a file with a bunch of random numbers and letters, so it's very easy to get mixed up. So just good online hygiene, I guess, is a plus there. So now that we've cleared our cache, we're going to go to project on the top left. We're going to import audio files, hit add files, grab our WAV file, hit open, hit import, and nothing's going to change here, but it has now imported that audio file. Again, we're going to go to project on the top left, hit convert all audio files. I always hit all languages and versions. I don't know if that actually changes anything, but I haven't seen bad things happen when I do that. So it is what it is. Hit convert, and again, it'll cook, do things in the background. We won't see anything, but it did what we needed to do. So now we're going to go to project one last time, go to file manager. We're going to right click on this bar here, hit open containing folder, and at the very top there should be a .cache folder right here. So it'll have a LMDB folder right here. Don't worry about that. Don't worry about that either. What you're going to want is the folder with the random numbers. For me, it just happens to be 72. It will be random. I've seen numbers, letters, but it'll only ever be 2 of them. 2 numbers, 2 letters, whatever. One thing to note is if you are converting multiple audio files, it will make a folder for each file you convert. So since I just did the one, I have one folder, but if you're converting multiple files, there will be multiple folders. So open your folder, and it should have the single WEM file in it. So I'm going to grab this and put it on my desktop just so, again, I know where it is. Now I can close that, close this program, and it's right here. So this is our WEM file. Again, it's going to be a bunch of random numbers and letters. We will change that eventually, but for now, this is what we want. So now that we have that, we are going to go into our audio modder right here. Again, when you first open it, you will not have this drop down here. In order to get that, go to File in the top left, hit Open from Helldiveris 2 data folder. It'll pull up this file here with a bunch of numbers and letters right here. These correspond to that Google Sheet that I showed you at the very beginning. Again, literally everything in the game has an archive number like this. We just want to find the one that we're trying to edit. So the 500 kilogram bomb, find that archive number, and just copy and paste it into the file name at the very bottom. And then you're just going to make sure you want to grab the one that doesn't have a dot and anything else after it. So just the bunch of numbers and letters like that. And hit open, and then it'll show you the drop down like that. So I don't know if this is how other games do things, but the way that Helldiveris does audio is for any single audio event, it splits up that event into different categories or different sections, right? So, for example, I made a mod for the orbital laser that replaces the laser sound with the Miku Miku Beam song, right? So the laser itself has 3 parts. The charge up at the very beginning, the actual firing, and then the cooldown at the very end. For each of those sections, there are random audio files that it will play from to make it sound unique. So for example, for the 500, we have these sounds. And those are all just the eagle flying over, a little bit different. I'm just double clicking to make them play. So whenever the 500 is called in, it will randomly pick one of those 4 to play, and each of them are a little bit different just so that you have that uniqueness every single time. So I'm just doing this one specifically because this is when the bomb lands and gets armed. That's the only file that makes that noise. So it's simpler for this tutorial's purpose. But if you want to make sure that it always happens, you need to make sure that you change every single sound. So if you wanted to change the eagle to sound different as it flies over, you would need to replace each 4 of these files with the file you're trying to make it sound like. Otherwise, it'd just be random chance. So anyways, getting on to this actual mod, we are going to right-click on the file we're trying to change, hit Copy File ID, go to the WEM file that we just made, right-click on it again, hit Rename, paste. So now we have file is the same name as this one that we're trying to replace it with, right? So now we're going to go to File, the top left here, hit Import Audio Files. It's on our desktop, bunch of numbers, WEM file, and hit Open. Now that one file should change to white. Everything else should stay the same. If you're changing multiple files, multiple audio files, you'll need to make sure you do that for each one, and each one of them should turn white in response. So you can go over here, you can play the original audio, or you can play what we added it to be. There you go. So, and again, make sure you do that for each one you're trying to change. For us, it's just this one, so it's simpler. But if you're trying to change multiple ones, make sure you do that for all of them. Again, right-click, copy file ID, and rename it. Just copy and paste the file, make new ones, and keep going. So we're just doing that one. So now we're going to hit File, write a patch, save it at our desktop, and then it should pump out a patch file right here. So this is a patch_0 file. This is what we want it to be. Do not change the name of this file or else it'll stop working. Instead, we're going to right-click on it. We are going to compress to a zip file. I don't know if the other file versions work. I always just do zip. That works for me. So now we have the zip file here. You can change the name for this. So I'm going to do so. I'm going to change it to 500 kilogram aneurysm. I don't know if I spelled that right, but it is what it is. So this is our final product. We are now going to go into our mod manager. You can grab this from Nexus. I will link this as well. Highly recommend this. I believe you can just grab this and shove it into the data folder directly, but I just find this to be easier. There's plenty of guides to show you how to install this, and then you just drag and drop for here. So now we're going to hit add. It's on our desktop, 500 kilogram aneurysm, zip file, hit open, and it should pop up at the bottom here. So now we just hit deploy, let it cook, and now we just go into the game to make sure it's working. All right, now that we are in game, we can test to see if our mod worked.
Delivering payload.
Nice. So, now that you've seen it in action, you might have noticed that the timing didn't quite add up. So, the way that Helldiveris does its audio files is, as I mentioned earlier, it will randomly pick each one for each section, but each audio file only has a specific amount of time it will be played for. I have another example of the, I made a Miku Miku mod for the orbital laser. And you can see how now the song itself cut out before the laser was done being fired. So for example, if you have an audio file that normally takes 2 seconds to play, and you try to replace it with a file that takes 4 seconds long, it'll only play 2 seconds of the 4-second clip. So if you're trying to get it to line up properly, you're just going to need to edit the MP3 file before you start converting everything, and then just go through the entire process again, and then just keep trying again, doing a little bit of trial and error until you get it right. It is a little bit redundant, or annoying, I guess is the best word for it. I don't know if there's a better way of doing it. I wouldn't be surprised, but that's the only way that I found to be able to do it. So if anyone knows a better way of doing it, feel free to share, and I know I would personally appreciate it. Another thing that's kind of weird that Helldiveris does is the audio files that it pulls, it will change the audio level in-game, right? So another thing you might have noticed during that Miku beam is the initial part was quieter than the actual like laser firing. So the Miku Miku was quieter compared to the beam part, right? The audio files that I brought in were both the same level. So if you're trying to do something that's longer like that and needs to be split up over different sections, you might need to change the audio level because Helldiveris itself will take the audio and change the levels before it fires or before it plays it. So there's just a little bit of trial and error there. Again, I don't know if there's a better way of doing it, but that's what works for me. So again, if anyone finds out a better way of doing things, please do share. But yeah, other than that, it's really easy. It's just a lot of weird conversions and making sure to know where to put the files themselves. But yeah, other than that, you can literally any sound in the game you can mod and can change. do with that what you will, I guess. Yeah, have fun.